The man seethed with anger at his wife and son's attempt to escape his control, desiring to punish them. In the midst of his yelling, a wolf suddenly appeared and did something completely unexpected. One cold night, Marina was in bed, crying. She was tired of fighting with her husband and feeling trapped at home, so she decided to leave him and take their child with her. She couldn't sleep as she planned her escape. That evening, Vadim came home late and drunk, leading to more arguments. Marina was fed up with his behavior. She had to wake up early for work after their late-night fights. She knew she deserved a better life than the one she had with Vadim. At first, they had been a lovey-dovey couple who couldn't keep their hands off each other. Vadim would always shower Marina with gifts, and they were happy. When she had first met him, it felt like she had finally found her soulmate. She had had a difficult life before they met. She had grown up in an orphanage where she had been neglected for years. When she turned 18 and could finally leave, she felt like she was leaving a prison. She had nowhere to go, no relatives, no home. But she preferred to be anywhere other than the orphanage. Life outside was not rosy at all. She had to struggle for every meal and do whatever she could just to survive. When Marina met Vadim, it felt like a fairy tale. He seemed perfect, like a knight in shining armor. Vadim was doing well enough that he could afford a maid, and Marina went to clean his place. They started talking, and after just 2 weeks, he proposed to her. Marina had some doubts and thought it might be too soon, but she didn't have any reason to say no. She loved him, and he seemed to love her too. Vadim had a difficult life like Marina. He had lost his parents when he was young and had to take care of himself for years. To make things worse, his previous fiancée broke up with him right before their wedding. Despite this, Vadim told Marina that she healed his broken heart and she believed him. They started living together, but Vadim had his own small apartment where he lived alone. He didn't have many family members, just like Marina. She trusted Vadim and thought that marrying him would bring her protection and peace. At first, everything seemed fine. Marina found another job. Even though the salary was small, she was happy. Vadim earned good money, and they had enough for both of them. Marina thought she was lucky. However, Vadim's behavior changed when he drank alcohol. He became a different person, spending all their money on gambling and alcohol. Marina discovered that Vadim was a notorious gambler, but he had hidden it from her at first. He stopped caring about hiding his habits and would even take money from Marina. Their life became difficult, and Marina realized she was trapped in a dangerous situation. Every time Marina tried to leave Vadim, he would kneel down, crying and begging her to stay. He promised it wouldn't happen again, but it did. Then, she found out she was pregnant. Marina was happy about it. She loved children and wanted to be a mother. Vadim was also happy and promised that things would change. For a few months, everything seemed good in their home. But after their son was born, Vadim changed. He started being mean to Marina, finding reasons to be angry with her. It was like he was taking out his frustrations on her. She would lie in bed every night, wishing for a way out of her predicament. However, something happened that broke the camel's back. When her husband had returned the previous night, he told her to pack her bags as he had lost all of her money gambling to some guy. She was to become another man's wife the next day. She couldn't believe her ears. She didn't even want to think about what would happen to their son. Was he joking, or was he saying rubbish in a drunken stupor? Marina decided that she was not willing to find out. Tomorrow, she and her son Boris would not be there. The next morning, she woke up early while Vadim was still deep in his drunken slumber, took her sleeping child in her arms, and left the apartment. She was careful not to slam the door behind her so her husband would not wake up. As soon as she stepped out of her home, her feet moved as fast as they could carry her. Marina's stomach growled, so she bought a pie and milk at the store. She and her 1-year-old son ate breakfast in a nearby park. In a hurry to leave, she took a cab to the train station, holding a ticket with no specific destination. Marina wanted to get as far away from Vadim as possible. As the train moved, Marina thought about her new start. She got off at a remote village, hoping Vadim wouldn't find her. The villagers were kind, especially an old woman who offered Marina food and shelter in exchange for help on the farm. This simple agreement felt like a lifeline to Marina. Living in the village, Marina found peace in the simple life. Working on the farm and being close to nature brought her calmness she hadn't felt in a long time. Within a few weeks, Marina became used to the ways of the people in the village. There was just one thing she couldn't get used to. The house where she lived with the kind old woman was at the edge of the forest, and there was a scary little path before the house. She had heard semirino rumors in town about that part of the forest. Everyone knew not to make loud noises, and it was believed that the wolf would come out to attack people if they disturbed it, but otherwise, it would leave the humans alone. It sounded like a made-up tale to Marina, but she didn't want to risk it, so she followed the ways of the villagers. As time passed, Marina was happy in her newfound home, but she also couldn't shake the fear that Vadim would find her and her son. It was a gnawing fear that felt like a cloud over her head. Unfortunately, she was wrong. One evening, as the villagers retired into their homes after a long day of work, Marina stepped out of her little hut into the cool night air, and there, at the entrance, was her worst nightmare. Vadim, the shadow she thought she had outrun, looming like a dark specter. Fear gripped her heart. When Marina and Vadim's eyes met, Vadim's laughter sounded scary in the quiet village. He teased her with hurtful words that felt like sharp arrows. The safety Marina felt was gone, and she wanted to escape. Granny Marta, who usually helped Marina, wasn't there. Marina was alone and faced Vadim's anger. The village, with no one nearby and a rumored wolf, offered no help. Marina felt isolated and scared, facing her worst nightmare alone. Driven by anger and a desire to control, Vadim yelled at Marina relentlessly. His words felt like a storm that battered her defenses. As his angry words filled the night, Marina felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Vadim insisted that he would take her and their son away, claiming she could never escape him. Hoping for rescue, Marina was unaware that someone or something was listening. Suddenly, a wolf appeared from the bushes and stood boldly in front of Vadim. Growling fiercely, it seemed to protect Marina. Facing the man, the wolf showed its teeth. Vadim, who had been shouting and threatening his wife, fell silent. Then, the wolf lunged at him. Terrified, Vadim ran away as if the wolf was his worst nightmare. Marina stood frozen, her eyes wide with disbelief. A real wolf had appeared, protecting her from the man who had made her life miserable. Vadim had unknowingly crossed into the wolf's territory, triggering a protective response that saved Marina. He had no idea about the wolf's legend and had been shouting in its territory. Marina, who had doubted the legend, now believed it to be true. However, her fear didn't disappear with Vadim's departure. She was now alone in the forest with a wild animal. Trembling, Marina watched as the wolf looked at her, but instead of attacking, it lowered its head and stepped back. Marina breathed a sigh of relief. The wolf meant no harm and had saved her from her husband. As the wolf disappeared into the forest, Marina felt a mix of awe and relief. She knew she would never see Vadim again. Over the years, she shared the story of her rescue, adding to the village's tales told around the fire.